So in Genesis 2, God makes Eve out of Adam's body. And most English translations go something like, Yahweh God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep. As the man slept, he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place. Yahweh God made a woman from the rib which he had taken from the man. The Hebrew word in this passage that's usually rendered rib in English is tsela. And in modern Hebrew, at least, that's a perfectly good translation. But in the ancient Hebrew of the Bible, its meaning here is less obvious. Elsewhere in the Bible, tsela shows up 39 times, but none of those other instances are referring to a body part. In Exodus, tsela refers to the sides of the tabernacle and the Ark of the Covenant. In 2 Samuel, it refers to a hillside. In Job, it refers figuratively to the space next to a person. And in 1 Kings, it refers to the side rooms of Solomon's temple, the leaves of its double doors, and the wooden boards and beams within its walls. In these contexts, we can take tsela as a general term for the side of an object. And it seems to me like there's usually an implication of symmetry, that every tsela mirrors its opposite tsela. Ribs, of course, fit fine into this definition, and it would be a sensible interpretation of Genesis 2's narrative. A single rib is a pretty expendable part of the body. I'd be hard-pressed to think of anything else I'd let God take to make me a wife. But since the rest of the Hebrew Bible uses tsela so generally, rabbinic interpreters throughout history have looked for other possible meanings in Genesis 2. One argument is that God would have foreseen the need to make Eve out of Adam's body, and so created Adam with some extra appendage like a tail. That way his body wouldn't be left incomplete, and God would only have to close the flesh at the base of the tail. This also works as an etiology for why humans have vestigial tailbones. This one's good. Leave a comment if you're a tail truther. Other interpreters looked for clues elsewhere in the text, namely that Adam, is a word that can be used generically for humans. Adam isn't referred to explicitly as a man until after Eve's creation. Also, if you consider the Torah divinely inspired, you can't ignore Genesis 1's account where the male and female sexes seem to be created simultaneously. Out of these considerations, you get the idea that the first Adam was created either androgynous or with two conjoined male and female bodies. It's only after God separates the female side from the male that they're referred to as distinct individuals. Now, you have to do a lot of reading between the lines to arrive at these interpretations, but clearly to rabbinic commentators, that's a feature, not a bug. But if you're not looking for hidden esoteric meaning, the plain wording of the passage gives no reason to think Adam's tsela is some kind of extra appendage, let alone an entire second body. It seems to just be one body part among a number of similar body parts on his side. That being said, there's still no reason to think that body part must specifically be a rib. Except there is, because I buried the lead. Hebrew's a Semitic language, so if we're not 100% sure about a word's meaning in the Bible, we can compare it with its cognates in other Semitic languages. In Aramaic, the common language of the Jews of the late biblical period, the word for rib is Allah. This word shows up exactly once in the book of Daniel, so thank you, Daniel author, that was very helpful. Also in Arabic, dila, I probably pronounced that wrong, means rib or side. And even in Akkadian, which is the oldest recorded Semitic language, we have tselu, which means rib or side. And you know what? This is good enough for me. If tsela can mean rib in modern Hebrew, and the same goes consistently for its Semitic cognates, I'm comfortable assuming biblical Hebrew is no exception. So if a Bible verse refers to one of a person's tselas without any further clarification, I'm just gonna take that straightforwardly to mean rib. I see no reason to entertain other interpretations of the Genesis 2 creation story, unless you just insist it has to be narratively compatible with Genesis 1. So yeah, I had to do all this research for this video for my takeaway to just be, the thing we've always been told was actually probably right the whole time. Don't question conventional knowledge, ever. It's not necessary. Subscribe if you want more enlightening content like this.